Hey YouTube, we are almost down to a week away from our Christmas giveaway on my channel, and very excited to see who wins, and just really looking forward to that. And I'm just so proud of the community that has been building up around my channel. So thank you all, and thank you for your great support, your comments. It's really been a blessing. Now this is going to be a double feature, as in, oh, you see double right now. These are very, very close. These are like almost identical clones. And this is actually, it's funny, my 5-year-old, my youngest, comes in and she likes to sit there and point out all the differences between them, which just tickles me so much. But really, really cool guitars. These are side by side an Epiphone Les Paul 100 and a Cort Classic Rock 100, which is clearly echoing, not exactly reproducing, not an identical clone, but with a few variations. You've got very, very similar guitars. And I mean, even down to the reason that I had gotten the Cort first, and I had this one for a little while, kind of when I was going through my Les Paul phase, and I picked up the Epiphone because I was like, that looks just like the Cort that I've got. And so very, very similar guitars, and you know, I'd be interested to see if somebody chooses one over the other, because they are very, very similar. Now you see there's a slight difference in terms of the Cort goes its own way a little bit, with the lower horn is slightly pointier, just a little bit pointier. Very similar, both of them. Now the 100 body style is a little thinner, so a little bit lighter, which is nice because Les Pauls are known for being heavy. They've both got very nice dark fretboards, very, very nice. Now another key distinction is that the Epiphone has the painted neck. Now they're both bolt-ons, but the Epiphone has the painted neck and the Cort has a clear coat. And both of them very nice. Main distinction just that you can see the scarf joint in the Cort, but it's very well done. You know, it doesn't stand out as ugly or very poorly mismatched or anything like that. Both of them have engraved back plates. I'll say the Epiphone back plate is definitely nicer. It's got that, full Epiphone engraving, which is great. The Cort's still nice, but very, very similar guitars. Of course, another getting into smaller distinctions, the Cort has a slightly reshaped, it's got that extra little bump on the pick guard there, but you can see side by side, the finishes are very, very close. I mean, same style, same basic color pattern and everything. It is really hard to say which is nicer. The one distinction, in terms of body, that is not immediately apparent and not something that really translates all that well to film, is that the Epiphone does have a very mild arch top, whereas the Cort, I mean, it is arched, but almost not at all. It's very, very minimal. It's not quite a flat top, but closer to it. So the Epiphone has a little nicer cut on the arch. And oh, I still need to I keep meaning to, if somebody picks this one up, I've got to source the knob. There's one mismatched knob on there, so I'll have to replace that or put a different set on it or something. And I do the coloration on the knobs on the Cort are really fetching. Really, really fetching. Now, something that the Cort has that's not factory is that this has very nice D'Addario locking tuners on it. So this was an aftermarket upgrade, and those tuners will run you about $80. So that in and of itself is a very nice upgrade. But I mean, it is very hard looking back and forth between them to say, which one is nicer. The craftsmanship on them is really quite equivalent, and it's entirely possible that this Epiphone was made by Cort. Who knows? Now this is coming from China, so it's unlikely, but it's always a possibility because Cort, Samick, Iyiv is another one that's getting out there that's not quite as big as Cort is part of Cortec, Samick's part of World Instruments. There's these huge guitar makers in Asia that produce as a sub-label for the big labels. So Epiphone and Squier and like your Schecter Diamonds and all these sorts of things tend to be produced by these large factory guitar makers over there, and they produce them under the brand. So unless you get in deep into the forums and do all your research on where exactly this was made and which factory and stuff, which you can do. I'm just not into it that much on that side of things. But these are really, really cool guitars. Now, another distinction between them, I'll say the Epiphone has a beautiful classic, modified open book headstock. The Cort has a very, very basic headstock in comparison. And so the headstock on the Epiphone is definitely nicer. It's nicer looking. It's got a nicer finish. It's got the abalone script on the Epiphone. The Cort has a nice got a metallic inlay on it, but it's much more basic. Much more basic. You can see, particularly looking at the back of it. You see, it's just a basic angle versus a very nicely sculpted head on the Epiphone. But I mean, these are direct competition to one another, and so I'm very curious to see your guys' comments about which one, if you were to choose between them, which one would you choose? And I'll resolve the video just by doing side-by-side clips of each guitar in action on the same settings. I'll get them both tuned up and plug one in, hit a riff, plug the other one in, hit the same riff, go back and forth like that so you guys can get some tone samples and, see what you think. I'm curious, which way the community would lead, because it's a difficult decision. I mean, these are both really nicely made, really good guitars, and they play really well. Now, I will say the Epiphone had significant fret issues. The action on it was very, very high, and it's older, so there might have been some fret sprout. I didn't see any gaps or anything. I didn't see any separation, but the frets definitely needed considerable leveling. So check out, I've got a video on fret leveling that I use this where you can see the thunk sound of a dead fret, and raising the action will get you by in the moment, but long term you want to do fret leveling. And so I did some considerable fret leveling on this. With used guitars, you just never know what you're going to get in terms of how much has been done to them, which way they were set up, good or poor, right? They can go either way, and so forth. But we'll just resolve with side-by-side tone clips. Starting on a clean bassman channel, middle selector, and everything at about 7 to 8 on the Epiphone. We're on the neck with some tape echo. Alright, added some drive to the mix here. So, final thoughts. I'm legitimately torn between these. I think they are both tremendously nice looking, well crafted, great playing instruments with some just classic Les Paul style tones. So, what do you guys think? Which would you choose if you were choosing between these? I would say, overall, that the Epiphone looks nicer. It has a nicer headstock, it's got the painted neck, it's got a nicer arch top on it. So the looks I would put in favor of the Epiphone. But in terms of playability, I'd have to give it to the Cort. Now both of them, this is not unplayable. They're both very nice playable guitars. I'm just saying if I had to choose between them, I would put aesthetics with the Epiphone and playability with the Cort. And tones, they're both excellent guitars. They really are. These are both great budget guitars that I think anybody would, with some time and getting used to it and setting it up, be able to play on stage and so forth. These are really good instruments. And so which would you choose if you were choosing between them? Would you take the Epiphone or would you take the Cort?